News and information 570 AM.
96.3 FM HD2. KLIF Dallas. KSCS FM HD2 Fort Worth. KLIF.com.
A Cumulus station.
Now, from the fifth floor Cumulus Studios in downtown Dallas, it's time for Inside Real Estate. Here's your host, Michael Kruizinga.
All right, good morning, folks. Welcome to Inside Real Estate. It is Mike Kruizinga here, your host. Welcome. Come on in, stay a while. It is Labor Day weekend, so hope everybody's got their hush puppies on. If you're heading up to San Francisco for the Labor Day weekend show, got a little come Monday for everybody out there, Parrot Heads. Labor Day weekend. Hope everybody's having a good one, and hope you're not laboring this weekend. We're going to be talking all things real estate today. Going to be talking insurance. Going to be talking mortgage. We're going to do a little title talk, 1031 exchange with our title talk folks. Got to throw in a little bit of sports and some fun stuff along the way. If you're going to call into the show, folks, 888-787-KLIF, 888-787-KLIF. Website, folks, InsideRealEstateRadio.com, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. You can always connect with us right there, as well as all of our partners. If you want to be a part of the show or advertise on the show, you can catch us right there. Don't forget our app. If you're on a mobile device, Apple or Droid, you can download our real estate app. There are no advertisements on it. It's clean and clear, and it gets you all the data that you need for your real estate search. Just search DFW Metroplex Real Estate, DFW Metroplex Real Estate inside the search engine on your Droid or Apple app store, and you can put it in right there. What's going to go on today? Let's see. At 8:15, we're going to go into insurance with J.C. Harder from the J.C. Harder Goosehead Insurance Agency. That's coming up at 8:15. Then at 8:45, later in the show, we're going to head into mortgage talk. And just prior to that, we're going to do a little title talk, and we're going to hopefully get into that 1031 exchange. Just before that, I know we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, but we're going to do a little more information on that with our folks from the title company. All right, well, let's do a little bit of this day in history to get things kicked off like we usually do. Man, there was actually a lot going on this day, September 6th, back in history. This is going to be as far back as I've ever gone before. Let's go back to 3114 BC. Well, that was the start of the Mayan lawn count calendar. That was the big thing that everybody was talking about back in 2012, since that 5,126-year calendar ended in 2012. And so I thought I'd throw that out there at you. 1492, Columbus took off from the Canary Islands, heading this way west. Same day, 1620, the Mayflower departed England with 102 pilgrims headed this way as well. And then also same day, 1628, Puritans headed over to Salem from the Massachusetts colony there. And, of course, Salem, much known for the Salem witch trials. And I don't know if any of y'all have caught that TV show, Salem, on WGN America, but I think it's in its, second or third season, and that thing's actually pretty entertaining. It had Shane West plays John Alden on there, and Shane West was in the show Nikita for 6 seasons or so, and he's a pretty good actor. So if you haven't seen that one, that's pretty good. And of course, Lucy Lawless just showed up in that this last season, and I'm a pretty big fan of hers as well. So yeah, if you hadn't caught that Salem TV show, it's pretty darn good. Go back to 1901. Sad day, 25th President William McKinley was shot a few times and actually ended up passing away on September 14th of gangrene from those shots, but did not die immediately. And so, folks, that's this day in history, 9/6, all the way back in time. So let's get into a little bit of sports. I wanted to maybe knock out a little bit of sports before we get going today. NFL trying to cut everybody down to 53-man rosters this weekend, and so thought I'd just run through a couple of the interesting cuts and non-cuts before we get going. Tim Tebow was cut. He's out of there, and we'll see if he gets picked up to go anywhere else. But Philly cut Tebow, which a lot of people kind of expected that anyway. Reggie Wayne was cut as well, which that was interesting to see. We'll see if he ends up finding a spot to go or if he's going to go to retirement. Darnell Dockett over at the 49ers, this was interesting because they gave him $2 million guaranteed, and they basically just threw that $2 million down the drain. So Darnell Dockett released over at the 49ers. Hakeem Nicks, that one was interesting. Great receiver there, was let go. Bills letting go Matt Castle. He's out there in the wind. Henry Hynoski, that fullback, if you remember him with the Giants, he is out there, and he's a solid player. I would see him getting picked up. Nick Novak, Chargers letting that kicker go, and he's a pretty decent kicker, so he's going to be out there in the wind as well. Rex Grossman, veteran QB, he's available. He's been released. And by the way, our own Cowboys are just going with 2 quarterbacks, so we just got Wheaton behind Romo. So instead of going 3 QBs, we're only going with 2, which we'll see if we need 3. Hopefully we don't. Hopefully Romo's going to stay healthy all season long. Patriots dropped Ryan Lindley and at quarterback as well. Probably the most interesting thing was a non-cut in the NFL, and that was the Redskins keeping RG3. Many people thought RG3 was going to get dropped, mainly because if he does get hurt, the Redskins have to pay him per the contract $16.2 million. So if he did get hurt during the season, which he's very prone to do, they were going to have to throw $16.2 million at him just for getting hurt. That's part of his contract. Had they let him go, they were only going to take about a $6.7 million hit to the cap, and then he had a $3.25 guaranteed money. So that's why everybody was speculating that RG3 was probably going to go ahead and get released. But he is staying around. Cousins getting the starting job, at least that's the latest and greatest as of right now. And but RG3 still in there. Colt McCoy still there as well, so the Skins are going to carry 3 QBs. Carrying 3 QBs. So that was probably the most interesting thing on cut day, honestly, that was the non-cut. Everybody expecting that RG3 drop, and it did not happen. So that's kind of the latest and greatest on the NFL cuts as of right now. Let's stay with sports for maybe another minute or two. I thought this was pretty interesting. There was a little back and forth between Floyd Mayweather and Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey trying to get a little extra feedback out there, and she was saying that, hey, she makes more money than Floyd Mayweather by the second. And that was an interesting spin on that, and it's absolutely true. Sure, she does make more money per second, but when you make Floyd mad, he's going to throw some numbers at you. By the way, he is number 1 as far as the Forbes top paid athletes in the world. And by the way, he made $420 million in 2015. Floyd Mayweather, yeah. So what did Ronda Rousey make? Well, in the last year, she made $3 million. So $3 million versus $420 million. I think you might not want to pick on Floyd Mayweather, although it did certainly get some press out of the deal. And yeah, you might not want to pick on Floyd Mayweather. And by the way, Stephen A. Smith had a great piece. You can pick up his piece probably on YouTube or on ESPN, but his first take piece. And, he flat out said, look, Floyd Mayweather, this guy's a billionaire. The numbers aren't public that he is, but they're like, look, this guy's a billionaire. He's done really well, and he watches his investments. This guy's one heck of a businessman and one heck of an athlete as well. By the way, Ronda Rousey, what I'm a huge fan of hers in UFC anyway, but her next fight coming up on November 14th, and she's going to be down in Australia, staying down south of the equator. She's going to take on Holly Holm, and Holly Holm is 9-0, and she's a former boxer. So we'll see what happens in that fight. That Ronda Rousey usually takes everybody down pretty quickly, rarely gets out of the first round. So we'll see if Holly Holm can put it to her at all and at least get her out of round one. So we'll see what happens there. Hey, the Rangers won last night 2-1. I caught the game on Fox Sports Southwest, and they left 10 on base, though, and they've been doing that quite a bit lately, stranding a lot of base runners. They stranded 10 last night, but were able to pick up the win 2-1. Holland had a great outing, and I think one of the great decisions in the game was to actually let Holland pitch through the eighth. How many games have we lost late in the game with a lead when we've decided to take out a starting pitcher that was pitching really well and bring in the bullpen way too early, and then we lose the lead, lose the game? So I think that decision last night really helped us as far as keeping Holland in through the eighth because he was pitching really well and it was hard to hit. So good pitching decision, I think, there, and that decision needs to be made further in the season because that decision in reverse has really kind of killed us this season a little bit if you look back at those games. So we're 2 games back, and so we'll see what happens with the Rangers, but it was a good game last night. Folks, hey, we're going to be back with Inside Real Estate. It's Mike Kruizinga. We'll see you in a few.
The J.C. Harder Insurance Agency in Uptown Dallas has nearly unlimited resources when it comes to getting you the best insurance rates and policies for home, auto, and more. As part of the Goosehead Insurance brand, you, the consumer, have the power of choice through the J.C. Harder Insurance Agency Network. For a quote today on all your insurance needs, stop by J.C.'s office on McKinney Avenue in Uptown Dallas. Call 214-643-6108 or visit jcharderagency.com. That's 214-643-6108 or jcharderagency.com.
Sellers, how would you like your home sold guaranteed? Buyers, how would you like your bid guaranteed to win? Well, it's real simple. Call Mike Kruizinga with Chris Arnold Premier Realty and ask about their guarantee programs for both buyers and sellers. No one beats Mike's professional listing and marketing services for all price ranges, including luxuries and ranches. And few have the knowledge and patience to take first-time buyers from renting to home ownership in a tough market. Visit DFWMetroplexRealestate.com and mention you heard this on the radio. And listen to Mike Sundays, 8 a.m. on KLIF for Inside Real Estate.
All right, folks, welcome back. It's Inside Real Estate with Mike Kruizinga. It's time this week for another insurance segment. We've got in studio J.C. Harder from J.C. Harder Goosehead Insurance Agency. Website is jcharderagency.com, jcharderagency.com, and phone number where they are always standing by for all your insurance needs, 214-643-6108. Folks, we're going to talk about liability and medical payments as part of your homeowner's policy. JC, welcome back to the studio, and let's get on into it.
All right, good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me. Like Mike mentioned, we're going to focus on 2 sections on your home insurance policy called the personal liability section and the medical payments to others. So, if you are looking at your homeowner sheet, that would be the section E and F, or basically under all the property coverages there. Just to summarize these 2 coverages, this is the sections that, it's better to have it and not need it versus to need it and not have it. We don't see tons of claims or situations, with these 2 coverages, but when they do happen, typically they're very large.
And these are not things that we typically think about as far as our homeowner's policy. We're generally very focused on, things that happen with our storms that come through with wind and hail and to the roof and to maybe our gutters, to our windows, our doors, things like that, maybe fire related. Those are the big things we always think about with insurance, but we don't think about some of these lesser occurring things. So, for example, the mailman trips on your patio walking up the steps, something of that nature, and some of these lesser known things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll break it into the two sections and just put it in, plain English for you, as far as non-insurance lingo. And so the liability payments or coverage would happen if someone you didn't know, or an acquaintance or contractor or mailman or neighbor, was to get hurt on the property. That's when your liability coverage would kick in if, they tried to sue you for that, thinking that it was your fault. Now, the probably main misconception on the liability is that it's only property or house related, but actually liability follows you, on the street, at the grocery store, at sporting events, anything social, active, anything like that, that a liability follows you there as well.
Okay, so basically, in the keyword of liability, liable, you're out and about, you do something, you bump into somebody, personally, not in a vehicle or anything of that nature, but maybe knock somebody down. So that's what you're saying, is it follows you around. So if you're at the Rangers game like we were last week, and I bump into somebody and they go flying down the stairs and they decided they want to come after me, then I might have some coverage there.
Yes, absolutely. Your personal liability on your home insurance coverage would pick up those payments for sure. So, and as far as the values of those payments, typically they start off at $100,000, and then to go up from there, $300,000, and then most of them max out at $500,000. And again, one thing I preach on this show is, just to take a couple minutes and explore the options, opposed to just, comparing quotes and seeing that they're the same number. But a lot of times you can go from 100 to 500 for very little, dollars out of your pocket each month. And then if something was to happen, then you have the sleep well at night, or, the top liability coverage.
Exactly. So obviously, when we're shopping insurance, we always want the lowest premium, and that's how we're always thinking about it. But like JC says, you really do need to look at every single segment, because there might be a bump in coverage in a certain zone that might be pennies to the dollars more, and it's well worth it.
Absolutely. And we've spent, a couple weeks ago, we spoke specifically of umbrella coverage, or, a $1 million liability umbrella policy. Well, with that type of situation, you would need to carry a higher limit on this, so that way you have, the utmost liability protection.
Okay, and let's talk about if there were to be injuries, talk about medical payments and those types of coverages, and how that's a little bit different from the liability section.
Right. The first thing that sticks out to me with the medical payments is, opposed to someone that you don't know that was to get hurt on the property, this would be more of a friend or family coverage, and you did feel responsible for the situation where the medical payments, would occur. So I think of summertime kids around a pool, a slip concrete there, and, they might eat that for you, opposed to, going through the liability process. And again, don't see these claims very often, but typically they start out at $1,000, or you can max it out at $5,000, and there's no deductible applied with medical payments coverage.
Okay. And so just to recap, give me one more scenario. I believe you got a really good story here about a medical payment, and this kind of helps separate out, in layman's terms, the main difference in medical and liability.
Yeah, absolutely. So client of someone at our corporate office, we kind of share success stories and, just real life experiences like this. And a family playing t-ball, on the weekend, some kids turned around, like he was walking towards the dugout. Someone yelled his name. He turned around, bumped into the kid in front of him. That kid hits his head on the fence pole there. Tons of, stitches, everything like that. Tons of medical payments occurred. And I guess they weren't that good of friends as far as the parents, because the parents did come after that kid. And thank goodness they had, good liability coverage with Goosehead Insurance. And they took care of all the medical all the liability payments, through the home insurance policy.
And exactly, that's something that's not going to happen with a lot of other vendors out there, folks. And that's why I say all the time, you need to get with JC and Patty at Goosehead Insurance to get taken care of, because that situation with another carrier, another insurance provider, they may not have been covered at all. And so, but with you guys, that's a great success story. Now, obviously, like you said, maybe the parents of those kids weren't exactly good friends. We don't like to see that. We think everybody here in Texas is pretty much good and friendly, and then they manage their own business on their own. But, you never know what someone else is going to do. People are absolutely one thing for sure, as always, and that is unpredictable. And they were unpredictable when they did that to fellow teammates, parents. But since they were with you guys were able to take care of them. So that's a great success story and a great point there. Anything else finishing up on liability or medical payments, JC?
Again, just it's one of those things that you might not think about it, but again, it's better to have it, not need it, than to need it and not have it. And typically it's very, very small premium monthly to max out those levels.
Absolutely. So, folks, check out all of the segments in your insurance policies, because even though you're always looking for that low payment, we're talking about maybe pennies or dollars more to get you covered when something does happen. Folks, it's been J.C. Harder of the J.C. Harder Goosehead Insurance Agency. Great stuff, as always, JC. Thank you. Folks, the website is jcharderagency.com, jcharderagency.com. Phone number where their folks are always standing by for all your insurance needs, home, auto, toys, and otherwise, is 214-643-6108. Folks, it's Inside Real Estate with Mike Kruizinga. We'll be back in a few.
Millennium Title Carroll PC Real Estate is a unique multi-service real estate title, law, and real estate investment firm that handles over 150 commercial and residential closings each month. Their real estate, legal, and tax services range from purchases to refinances to short sales and reverse mortgages. They can handle all of your real estate, legal, and tax planning needs. Their experience offers clients and investors a comprehensive perspective in managing their real estate law and investment needs. Visit txtitleattorney.com, that's txtitleattorney.com, or call 817-310-0136.
With decades of experience, the Rocky Martin Supreme Lending Team will work to close your home loan in 30 days or less. With access to the most competitive interest rates, the most financing options, and the most access to down payment assistance programs, the Rocky Martin Team won't be beating service to you for all your mortgage needs, including purchase and refinance. Trust RockyMartin.com and his team for their reliable and fast loan process. Go to RockyMartin.com or call 972-772-1866 today.
For housing lender, NMLS ID number 211731, 6730 Horizon Road, Suite B, Heath, Texas 75032.
Millennium Title Carroll PC Real Estate is a unique multi-service real estate title, law, and real estate investment firm that handles over 150 commercial and residential closings each month. Their real estate, legal, and tax services range from purchases to refinances to short sales and reverse mortgages. They can handle all of your real estate, legal, and tax planning needs. Their experience offers clients and investors a comprehensive perspective in managing their real estate law and investment needs. Visit txtitleattorney.com, that's txtitleattorney.com, or call 817-310-0136.
One thing that makes Cumulus Media the best, we hire supremely talented people. People like you, the proud few with experience gained by selling advertising to ad agencies. If you can dissect and avail, be a guru with Nielsen, and sell with a bit of panache, email your interest to salesmusic@cumulus.com. We're hiring an ad agency specialist to represent our powerhouse trio of 99.5 The Wolf, 96.3 KSCS, and the new Hot 93.3. Opportunity knocks. Inquire for details at salesmusic@cumulus.com.
Are you worried a stock market crash is coming? If you're retired or retiring soon, the time to protect yourself is now.
This is Ken Moraif, host of the Money Matters radio show, inviting you to our free seminar.
Choose 1 p.m. Saturday, September 19th in the Money Matters building in Plano, 7 p.m. Tuesday, September 22nd, Hilton Garden Inn, Denton, or 1 p.m. Saturday, September 26th, Hilton Garden Inn, Alliance Airport. Clients that followed Ken's advice were out of the market in 2008. Reserve at moneymatters.net. That's moneymatters.net, or call 800-994-0302.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey folks, Mike Kruizinga here. It's Inside Real Estate. Welcome back. That was our insurance segment with J.C. Harder of the J.C. Harder Goosehead Insurance Agency, and he had some great information for us as always, so that was fun. Thank you, J.C. And so let's see what else we got going here. Why don't we run into some real estate topics, and then I wanted to talk about a couple things that came up this week. I always like to mention kind of fresh stories that happened to me out in the marketplace, and they're usually reasonably entertaining, and usually we get some good information out of it as well. So I want to talk about that because I had a really real doozy, actually. So we'll get to that as well. So, all right. How about this was kind of funny. And this actually happened a few weeks back, actually maybe a month or so back, and I just never got to it. It's been in my stack here to throw at you. But this was pretty funny. Usually I talk about for sale by owners, and this was a homeowner out in Farmers Branch. She put a homemade for sale by owner sign out in her yard to kind of tick off her next door neighbor. And it said, "House for sale by owner, because my neighbor is a blank." And I'm not going to say it on the radio. It wasn't really a horrible word, but let's just say it was something rather like a jerk or whatnot. But evidently this homeowner had a number of dogs that bark nonstop, incessantly, all hours of the day. And so the neighbor decided to complain about it. And so in response, she said she put out a sign saying her neighbor's knucklehead and that her house was for sale. So I thought that was pretty funny. Although I have to say, if you have dogs that bark incessantly 24/7, I might be on the side of the neighbor who complained about it. Because you know what? I don't really want to hear dogs barking incessantly either. It's called dog training. So, I mean, unless you've got burglars coming in your yard nonstop, those dogs don't need to be barking nonstop. So, this was funny. Out in California, there's a bunch of for sale signs out there. Well, actually up in Oregon, and this was regarding a lot of the Californians moving up into Oregon that were causing a lot of multiple offers up there, and all the sales prices to go up because they way overbid. You know how Californians are. They way overbid for things just because they want it. And so on the for sale signs all over the area in Portland, they were putting up these big "No Californians" stickers on the for sale signs. So it was a picture of the state of California, like the no smoking sign with a slash through it. So it was pretty funny. And obviously this wasn't the sellers putting these up, because if the seller can get over list price, that's great for them. But it was just kind of a group of people that were getting tired of going into multiple offer situations and losing out. And they decided to sort of start this little coalition and start putting out these little "No Californian" stickers on for sale signs out there. So I thought that was pretty comical. Hey, do you want a house on top of a volcano? Well, if you do, you can buy one out in the Mojave Desert. There's a nice little house there right on top of a volcano. Now, it's not an active volcano, but who knows? It could be in the future. But if you want it, it's $650,000, and it's in the middle of the Mojave Desert. I saw this on the Curbed website, and they have a pretty funny website with kind of latest and greatest in real estate, generally related to celebrities and things out west. And what a beautiful home it is. I mean, it looks like it could be a little pod home on Mars, honestly. But it's great views on top of this little volcano. But if you want one, yeah, $650,000, not too bad if you want to live in the Mojave. So one interesting thing I thought going on here regarding some land up near Frisco, oil man and North Texas banker Burt Fields Jr. passed away earlier in the year. And, if you've been around the DFW area, you know who that is and who that family is. And there was about 300 or so acres that were sold to a Houston-based development firm with their partner, which was a Canadian-based company. And they're going to develop Edgestone at Legacy, a single-family home community there. And so that bit of land was just sold, and so that's in the works. That's going to be in the game plan there out in Frisco. And by the way, there's hundreds and hundreds of acres that are going to be coming up through his holdings, Burt Fields Jr., that is, in the future as well. So there's going to be lots of land up for grabs out there. Construction's probably going to start late 2015. They've selected Coventry Homes, Highland Homes, Darling Homes, well, a bunch of them, Huntington, Shattuck, and Village, to be out there as part of that new community. Edgestone at Legacy. So that was pretty interesting. All right, so let's talk about, before we kind of move on here, we've got an interesting topic that came up this week. Folks, as a seller's agent, we have to pay attention very tightly to buyer offers that come in. And we had an offer come in, had a pre-approval letter, everything looked legit, but of course on our side we verify that, and so we called the lender. And so great offer, full price offer. End up calling the lender, and the lender said, well, we haven't talked to that buyer in over 45 days, and we did not pre-approve them. Well, why do we have a pre-qualification letter from you guys? Oh, yeah, well, we thought we were going to get them pre-approved, but and so we did give them a pre-qual letter, and so they were trying to distinguish between pre-qual and pre-approval. But anyway, they weren't going to be approved. And so we ended up talking to the agent. The agent didn't even know about this, thought they were pre-approved. And so, folks, that's why you got to work with the best, and you need to really talk to the agent that you're going to be working with, because, hey, on the seller side, had we said, oh, hey, it's a full-price offer, they're pre-approved, there's a pre-approval letter here, and then just accepted it at face value, then guess what? 21 days or so later, after that third-party financing addendum started to expire, we would have found out, hey, this is a bad buyer, and we would have gone through all the hoops and motions of getting the appraisal, et cetera, all these things that we need to do. Buyer got an inspection, maybe survey, et cetera, and all for not to mention the seller would have started packing and getting ready to move. So that's why you want to work with the best folks. You want to work with somebody who's going to investigate everything and make sure that you're getting taken care of. Something to think about out there for sure. All right, folks. Well, you know what? We're hitting up against a break, so come on back. It's Inside Real Estate with Mike Kruizinga. We'll see you in a few. Attention real estate agents. The Snap platform, that's Snap, S-N-A-P-P, Snap, allows real estate agents to have their own branded and native mobile app available for download in both Apple and Android formats. It's not a matter of if or when, folks. The mobile revolution is here. If you aren't catering to it, you're sinking fast. It's a proven fact that people use mobile apps 66% more than mobile websites or desktop browsers, and that percentage increases even more when you're looking at home buyers that are in the searching process. Picture this. You've got a great conversation with a potential home buyer who hasn't yet agreed to work with you exclusively. You don't have your own branded mobile app yet, so you give the prospect your website, and they're going to use that when they want to search for available properties. The next day, that potential client is out and about, and they want to see what's for sale nearby. They aren't using their laptop. They are on their mobile devices. They visit your website, only to realize it's not a user-friendly mobile site as some of the real estate apps they've already tried. Your website may even offer that mobile version, but it lacks vital GPS functionality and other features that need to be available to the home buyer when they're looking in the mobile process. Being left with no other option, the person turns to a third-party advertising app such as Zillow or Trulia. They find a property they like and end up connecting with another agent through that app. End of story, end of opportunity. You just lost that potential client because you did not have a mobile app. The point is, having your own app is as crucial as having a website has been for years. Don't stop advertising with other apps because that can be an effective way to generate great leads. However, for any prospect with whom you're already interacting, whether it's a referral, a friend, a lead from a various lead source, your website, or anywhere else, do yourself and the home buyer a favor. Give them the mobile experience that they demand. Otherwise, they will find it somewhere else. Bottom line, you need your own app to sell more homes and to stay afloat in this crazy real estate world full of new technologies and apps. Snap makes it all easier and cheaper with their platform. Set up your real estate app today. Visit snaprealestate.com. That's Snap with 2 P's. Snaprealestate.com for all your real estate app needs. All right, folks, we're back with Inside Real Estate. This is Mike Kruizinga. It's time to head on into Title Talk. In studio, we've got Brooke Owen, Director of Marketing for Millennium Title, and Angela Crane, who is one of the escrow officers at Millennium Title. The website is millenniumtitle.com, as well as txtitleattorney.com. Phone number 817-310-0136. And, folks, we're going to talk a little bit about 1031 exchanges exchanges today. Brooke, why don't you jump on in here? Welcome to the show, and let's get started.
Thank you. Good morning, Mike. Today I want to talk a little bit about a new department that we're launching at Millennium Title called Millennium Exchange. Basically, we're going to handle 1031 exchanges. For those of you who don't know what that is, a 1031 exchange is also sometimes called a like-kind exchange. And basically, what it is the swap of a business or investment asset for another. The appealing thing about a 1031 is that normally in a swap, you're going to incur taxes. But if you come within a 1031 exchange, you have the opportunity to pay no taxes or very little tax for your transaction. So in effect, what the IRS has done is that they've basically said that you can change the form of your investment without cashing it out and recognizing a capital gain. So basically, this allows your investment to keep growing tax deferred. And there's no limit on the number of times that you can do a 1031 or how frequently. So in effect, you could roll over the gain from one piece of investment property again and again and again. And although you might make a profit every time you swap, you avoid any taxes until you actually cash out.
Exactly.
And then hopefully, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, no, I was just going to jump in here real quick. And this is huge because, every neighborhood where you buy an investment property, over time, sometimes that neighborhood may tend to go downhill a little bit, and it's time to go ahead and liquidate that property and get rid of it and maybe move those funds that you have in that property into another property. And so to be able to do that without the tax liabilities is huge, obviously.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then hopefully at the time you do cash out, then you pay only one tax, and then that would be at a long-term capital gain rate. So that's a plus as well. There's a lot of special rules that apply, so you always want to make sure that you have professional help when you're doing a 1031 exchange. And speaking of professional help, I have Angela here, who is one of our investment specialists at Millennium Title. She deals exclusively with investors, and she's going to be handling the 1031 exchanges. So I'm going to let her go over some of the just basic requirements.
Thank you, Brooke. And yes, there are special requirements such as when you do a 1031, the best thing about it is you use it as an investment property. Like she said, you hopefully do enough of them, gain enough money, and then cash out and only be taxed on that last capital gain, and not multiple properties as you go through doing 1, 2, 3 as separate transactions. With the 1031, Millennium Title is that intermediary. We become the middleman for you for the swap. So we hold all of the money. You never see it. That's the reason you're not taxed on it. Also, it cannot be your homestead property. This becomes an investment property only. So tenants are used in it. It can be businesses. It can be ranches. I mean, one can be swapped for the other. You never want to go down in depreciation because those funds, when you do get those back as a cash out, it's also, the term is used as boot, which is money back to you, and that's what you're taxed on.
We don't want boot.
No. You do not want boot. Boot is definitely what you get taxed on, and the rate on that is about 15%, I believe, as of right now. You can do multiple properties as well in a 1031. You always want to go from the value of the property to about the same that amount or even higher. Typically, you can do 1, 2, or even 3 properties at that.
Okay, and let's go over some of those rules that come with that. The time frame that you have to find another property while disposing of the current property, and the time frame to close on the new one. Let's go over some of those items.
Those are great questions, Mike, and the rules as well. It's 45-day period from the sale of the initial investment property. And then you take that, and there has to be a written notice, fax, I mean, whatever's used nowadays is great communication, and it's allowed. And within that 45-day period, you have to give us written consent of the proposed property. And then from that time, it's 180 days, which is served concurrently. So just because you have the written notice on the 11th hour of the 45th day doesn't mean you get another 180 days. You only have 135 days left to close on that transaction.
Gotcha. And so, so there are, although 1031 exchanges are of huge benefit, there are some strict guidelines, some strict timelines that we've all got to abide by. And sometimes when an investor doesn't abide by those, they get kind of bugged out at the end if it doesn't work out. But as long as you play within the rules, play within the field limits, then we get this done and you get great benefit for it.
Yes, absolutely. And you may end up with a very small amount left over, and I mean, very minimal, and that's what would be taxed on those proceeds if the property is slightly depreciated or any money coming back to you. But again, it'd be a very small amount in that.
Okay, great. Any other great benefits on the 1031 that we missed? Maybe anything else to add there, Miss Angela?
The great benefits of a 1031, again, are just not being taxed on it. You can do multiple properties, of going from one sale of investment property to purchasing 1, 2, or 3 properties of that, and keep going and not being taxed on those. And if you continue to buy and sell and use the intermediary, Millennium Title, I mean, we help you with all that, and we help facilitate everything from the closing process to the 1031 exchange.
Absolutely. And so it's not like there's any greater benefit than getting deferred taxes or not getting taxed on a property. So the great benefit of the 1031 exchange right there, Millennium Title can handle all of your title issues, all of your real estate transaction issues, as well as the 1031 exchange. And it's not just investment properties, it can be ranches, etc. So no matter what your situation, we can take care of it. Folks, we always work with the best. That's why we work with the folks at Millennium Title. Folks, it's been Angela Crane and Brooke Owen from Millennium Title. It's Inside Real Estate, folks. We'll be back in a few. Talk to you soon. With decades of experience, the Rocky Martin Supreme Lending Team will work to close your home loan in 30 days or less. With access to the most competitive interest rates, the most financing options, and the most access to down payment assistance programs, the Rocky Martin Team won't be beating service to you for all your mortgage needs, including purchase and refinance. Trust RockyMartin.com and his team for their reliable and fast loan process. Go to RockyMartin.com or call 972-772-1866 today.
For housing lender, NMLS ID number 211-731-6730, Horizon Road, Suite B, Heath, Texas 75032.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey folks, it's Mike Kruizinga here. It's Inside Real Estate. We are back and we are going to head on into the mortgage segment. Right here in studio, we've got Terry Wagner with Supreme Lending Rockwall of the Rocky Martin team. The website is RockyMartin.com. That's Rocky with an IE, RockyMartin.com. And phone number where the folks are always standing by, 866-607-5667. Terry, welcome back to the show. How we doing?
Good morning, Mike. I'm doing great. How about you?
Really good, really good.
Good.
So let's get into some mortgage talk. Okay. And we were talking in the break about maybe talking about a little bit of the distinguishing a pre-qual and a pre-approval letter. And a lot of lenders don't really do both necessarily anymore, but there are some that still do, like I just mentioned, that one company that was out of California. So if you can, touch on that a bit.
Yeah. The big difference between a pre-qualification letter and a pre-approval is going to be a pre-qualification is when you have a licensed, seasoned mortgage loan officer that has looked at income, assets, job time, credit scores, all of the necessary pieces to that puzzle, and says with their expertise, yes, this person is qualified to purchase a house up to X number of dollars. And then a pre-approval is when you gather all the documents to verify all that information, send it into an underwriter without a property address, with a to-be-determined property address, and then it has an underwriting approval. So then you just slip in the contract and the address and the appraisal, and you're down the road.
Gotcha.
Most lenders probably are not going to do a pre-approval unless they believe that there is possibly some issues that could hang them up. So probably 90% of the time, we only do a pre-qualification. Now, that's not to say if I have a borrower that just wants to be on the safe side, we'll certainly do a pre-approval. But yeah, most of the time you can just get a pre-qualification, but you want to make sure that you're dealing with a seasoned loan officer that knows what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly, because a lot of times you'll see a pre-approval or pre-qual letter, and they just haven't gone through all the hoops they really need to go through to make sure that person is qualified.
Right.
And especially when you're representing the seller, if we get our seller into a contract with a buyer that they just have that letter and we're just taking it on faith, but we don't talk to the lender to make sure what's going on, and then all of a sudden it could be 2 to 3 weeks later, we just wasted 2 to 3 weeks of that house being off market, under contract. The sellers made plans to move out. Maybe they moved out already by the time you figure it out. You don't want to figure that out later down the line. Now, sure, things do happen for sure.
Right.
That are out of our control. But as long as we can try to do our best due diligence to make sure it's legit.
Well, and most of the time, we'll also try to gather those supporting documents to make sure that, okay, yes, you told me your income is this, but there are some circumstances that won't allow for some income, overtime, bonuses that haven't been received for a total of 2 years. So there are some instances where we take the information from the borrower. If we don't ask enough questions, we don't get the right information.
Exactly.
So we try to gather all that information before we send out that pre-qualification letter, so that you, the seller's agent, can feel comfortable with the knowledge that we've looked at everything.
Exactly. And if you're on the flip side of that, if you're the agent that's representing the buyer, you want to know that you've got a buyer that you're running around out there that is
right,
that can actually purchase a property. Because if not, you're wasting not only your time, but the buyer's time, but also the sellers and the seller's agent's time as well. You're wasting everybody's time.
Right.
And really, it's the job of the agent representing that buyer to verify that the lender that they're working with is good, and that they really know what they're doing, and they've got a buyer that they can take out and legitimately go purchase something. But sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes that agent doesn't go the extra mile to make sure that is happening. And so on the seller side, we have to kind of pick up the slack sometime as the seller agent. But
it is a little scary sometimes when we just have a contract. We get a contract in on a Monday morning for a customer that we haven't talked to in a long time. We're like, oh my goodness, I hope everything is good. So unfortunately, a lot of agents don't do their due diligence to make sure that everything's in line before they write that contract.
Yeah, I hope they didn't buy a car in like the last 2 weeks or something that we don't know about.
Or I had a customer that got married.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Didn't
By the way,
tell
I'm
me.
married now.
That's right.
Great. Just great. Yeah, and we bought a car, and we just dropped $15,000 on a vacation. And
that's right.
Well, I know we were going to talk a little bit about VA today.
Right.
So what do we got?
Okay, so just wanted to go over the VA loan and some particulars on that loan. Of course, the VA loan is owner-occupied only. You cannot do a second home or an investment and use your VA eligibility for that. VA loans are 100% financing, so you don't have to put any money down in most instances, not in all. You have to have a 620 credit score with Supreme Lending to do a VA loan, and that's up to $417,000 is the maximum loan amount. We can do jumbo loans on VA loans. You have to have a slightly higher credit score, a 660, but we can do jumbo loans on VA. A lot of people don't know that you can do that.
Right.
You have to have a certificate of eligibility to do a VA loan, and the VA actually issues those certificate of eligibilities. We can get your certificate for you at Supreme Lending, and all we need from you is your DD 214. That allows us to request that. If you don't want us to request it, if you want to see if you qualify for a VA loan before you get to your lender, you can certainly call the VA Eligibility Center. In most instances, you can walk into a VA office or a VA hospital. Of course, you're going to need your DD 214 again. That's gonna be the document that you want to have available.
Okay.
And then who's available or who's eligible for a VA loan? Well, your veteran that has 2 years of active duty and has an honorable discharge. They're eligible. Your veteran with 6 years of service in the selected reserves or National Guards, also with an honorable discharge. They're available. In some instances, the unmarried surviving spouse of a veteran is eligible. I've done a loan for that type before. So that's available in some instances. We just have to check the availability of that, but just kind of know that, if you're the spouse of a deceased veteran, we can certainly look in to see if you're eligible for that loan.
Okay.
Because in a lot of cases, the VA loan's the best way to go if you're eligible.
Yeah, absolutely. At zero down, it's hard to beat.
Right. That's right. The funding fee going with a VA loan. It's different for regular military and reserves. It's a little different. And it depends on how much you put down. You don't have to put anything down, but if you choose to, your funding fee goes away. And the funding fee for a VA loan is similar to mortgage insurance. It's not called the same thing.
Right.
But it's upfront. It's an upfront fee that the veteran is paying to accomplish that loan. Regular military, if you've used your VA loan before, may not be the best option. Maybe there's a different option because the upfront funding fee is kind of high.
Right.
The one thing I did want to touch on, if you are a disabled vet, there is no funding fee.
Wow.
Okay? So you're getting 100% loan with basically no mortgage insurance. So be sure, if you're a veteran and you have the disability that comes from the VA, be sure and tell your loan officer that you are a disabled vet so that you don't get charged that funding fee.
Yeah, and get that fee knocked out right away.
Absolutely. Let's talk for a second about credit. What kind of credit do you have to do to do a VA loan? Chapter 7, bankruptcy. You have to be 2 years discharged. Chapter 13, bankruptcy. You can actually still be in the Chapter 13 bankruptcy and buy a home using your VA eligibility.
Wow.
Just did one.
I did not know that.
Yes. See, I taught you something today, Mike.
Yeah, that is cool. That
Yeah.
is pretty cool. So you can be in a Chapter 13.
Right.
Still use that.
You have to have 12 months history of good pay to your trustee.
Okay.
And you have to have a trustee approval to show that you can acquire this new debt. So you'll have to coordinate that with your trustee to make sure that we can get that letter. Sometimes that takes a little extra time. So make sure that we allot that additional time in the processing of the loan. And sometimes getting those certificate of eligibilities can be a little longer too. So we want to make sure that we allot enough time to do the VA loan. Those are the things that usually take a little bit longer.
Okay.
Foreclosure. If you have a foreclosure, you're going to be 2 years out on that. Okay. Let's see. Occupancy. When you purchase a house using your VA eligibility, you have to occupy the home within 60 days. Now, if you're married, you have a spouse, your spouse can satisfy that occupancy requirement if you're active duty.
Gotcha.
And you're shipped off somewhere else.
Okay.
If you're active duty and no one else is going to occupy the property, you can still buy a home as long as we can prove that you're going to occupy it within 12 months. So if your deployment ends in 6 months from now and you want to buy a house now because the market's great, we can still do that. As long as we can prove that your deployment will end and you'll be able to occupy the property.
And that does happen a lot. Maybe they're going to go on leave for a bit. There's going to be a vacation where they've got some time and they jump into town and they want to wrap something up under contract real quick.
Correct.
Even though, they're hopping back over to wherever for another 9 months or whatever. They just want it to be there and ready to go when they get back.
Right.
So, yeah, we see that a lot.
Yeah. Maximum debt to income ratio, 55%. What that means is your total debts versus the income that we can use, qualifying income for your VA income, can't exceed 55%. That's our max.
And VA is going to be the most lenient on debt to income ratio. Is that right?
No, it depends on a lot of factors, as every file does.
Of course.
Credit, the standard for a VA loan is 41%. That's the standard. And so if you are got a little bit lower of a credit score, and we're not going to be able to get what we call an automated approval, then you have to keep it at the 41. But if you've got great scores, you've got some money in the bank, got some reserves that we can use, we should be able to go up to a 55.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
But yeah, some other loans allow 55% as well.
Okay.
Seller paid closing costs. Let's talk a minute about that. 4%. Seller can pay up to 4% of the veteran's closing costs for them.
Okay.
100% down. 100% financing. Seller paying your closing costs. VA loan, you can get in with just little to no money.
Exactly.
You could get your earnest money back at closing. I've had that happen before. There are non-allowable fees for a veteran. So we want to make sure that there are at least some seller-paid closing costs, but you can go up to 4%.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the VA loan is definitely the way to go. You're going to be zero down. You can get your earnest money back at closing. So really, you're only going to pay out potentially your inspection fee.
Right.
And then if you have any other additional inspections that you order, whether it be engineer or a roofer, or if it's a rural property, a well inspection, septic inspection, any of those types of things. But the seller, in many cases, they can pay for that pest inspection on the back end, and sometimes you'll get the full inspection cost back as well.
Right, because that is one of the non-allowables.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly. So, great way to go, VA. Only downside really is that funding fee, but like she said, if you can throw some money down and you can get rid of that funding fee, but otherwise, kind of the best way to go, zero down. You can't beat it. Folks, it's been Terry Wagner of Supreme Lending Rockwall, Rocky Martin team. The website, rockymartin.com, Rocky with an IE, rockymartin.com, 866-607-5667. Great mortgage talk as always. Thank you, Terry. Folks, it's Inside Real Estate with Mike Kruizinga. We'll see you back here next week, 8 a.m. Sunday mornings. Have a great Labor Day weekend. Neither the hosts nor the guests or contributors of the show Inside Real Estate with Mike Kruizinga are attorneys, CPAs, tax advisors, or investment advisors, and are not providing legal advice during the course of the show. If you need professional legal advice or services in any of those categories, please seek the appropriate professional. The host is a licensed real estate agent in Texas with the Chris Arnold Premier Realty Brokerage, a fair housing broker and member of the MLS. Texas real estate agents are prohibited. 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 Texas real estate agents are